What's up, Canes fans? Peter Ariz here with CanesInsight.com, bringing you today's edition of the Canes Insight Daily Podcast, which is brought to you by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Doing something a little bit different today as we're in the heat of summer here. Of course, we've had a bunch of recruiting news lately. Go check out the pods that we've been putting out. D-Money will be back in just a couple days here on the show. Gave you guys an update, a little bit of an update, I would say, on DJ Pickett yesterday, as well as Jabari Antoine, two of the top defensive backs targets for Miami in this class. But today, we're taking a look at NCAA football, I should say EA Sports College Football 25, releasing their top 100 players rated in the game. We're still waiting for the roster reveals, the entire roster to be revealed. But Miami has 3 players here in the top 100. And just taking a look right off the top here, as I'm bringing up the tweet, you see this link here if you haven't gone and checked out the top 100 players in the game, and then you see the top 10 players right here. Everyone's going to be debating, as always, what these ratings should be. But the Canes have 3 of the top 100 rated players. So taking a look at it right here, Damian Martinez, Ruben Bain, Xavier Restrepo, and we'll talk about Cam Ward not being in the top 100 in just a second, but Damian Martinez coming in as the number 67 ranked player in the game with a 91 overall. That 94 acceleration at his size at almost 240 pounds is going to be nice to use in the game. And then Ruben Bain coming in at number 78. Personally, I think he should be way higher than that. I think this is a guy who's a top 20 player in college football. But again, every fan out there is going to have a gripe about certain guys and what they're rated in this game, but Ruben Bain comes in at 90 overall. And then Xavier Restrepo, 93rd player ranked in the game, 90 overall as well here. So you got 3 players here for the Hurricanes in this top 100. And interestingly enough, no Gators in the top 100, only one FSU player, Patrick Payton, being ranked as the number 87 player in the game, and Miami with the most top 100 players in the ACC. So a good showing for the Canes, right, in these ratings overall. I'm going to, take a little bit more of a deep dive here in just a second. Cam Ward, the obvious exclusion from this list, right? And I think that's been the number one thing I've been seeing from people out there. Where's Cam Ward? Why isn't he in the game? Why isn't he in the top 100 rated players? We have to take it up with the ratings people. But remember, Cam Ward confirmed back in March that he will be in the game. So there's 8 quarterbacks ranked in that top 100. I personally would have to believe Cam is right outside of that top 8 as the 9th or 10th rated quarterback. All of the players there in the top 100 were rated 90 at least. So again, I would have to think he's there either as a 90 overall player or 89, 88 overall player. There are no 99 rated players in the game. So the highest rated player is a 96 overall, Will Johnson. Again, I'll bring this post back up here. Will Johnson at 96. Then you go down the list here, and obviously there's some highly rated guys here in the mid-90s, but there are no 99 rated players. I really think they wanted to kind of stretch things out here. I don't think they wanted to have a completely dominant player right at the release of the game here. I personally believe Cam Ward belongs in that top 100. So that's my opinion, as I'm sure many of you share the same opinion there. But nonetheless, still think he's going to be a really, great player to use in this game coming up here. A couple things of note, a few things. I'll get into some of the things that I'm excited about for the full roster reveal for Miami. But the top 100 players in the game, what does this mean? So they're adding these player traits this year, and the top 100 players in the game have been handpicked for these traits. So as we see, Damian Martinez tweeted out last week saying, "Crazy, I'm in the game." And you see here, he has some traits here. Physical traits are head first, workhorse, downhill, armbar. Mental traits, team player, road dog, clear-headed. So these top 100 players, it's going to be interesting to see what they give to Xavier Restrepo, what they give to Ruben Bain. And these traits, again, if you're a dynasty mode player, as I'm sure many of you are, trying to build this Canes team up back into national prominence, go get number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11. We're going to try to run the score up on people, right? So if you're doing the dynasty mode here, a lot of the mental traits will come into play over the course of a season. The physical traits, if you're just playing a regular game, will obviously have a big effect on that. If you guys play Madden, you guys know the superstar traits are a big part of what goes into the gameplay. Same thing with EAFC, FIFA. So you have these play styles essentially that are part of your ratings, but it really accentuates and puts an emphasis on certain skill sets in the game. So it's cool to see someone like Damian Martinez with head first, workhorse, which new part of the game this year, the wear and tear system. Guys will wear down as the game goes on, as they take certain hits in certain parts of the body. So as the game goes on, some of those attributes kind of drop a little bit, as they would in real life, right? When you're on carry 28, 20, 29 in a game, or if a quarterback's taking a bunch of hits throughout the course of a game, he's going to be limping a little bit. It's going to be tougher on him as the game wears on. So that is part of the game this year. So someone like Damian Martinez with that workhorse trait, you would expect the wear and tear does not affect him as much. A few more things here. So again, I'm excited to see what Bain gets, what Restrepo gets. I'm sure some of these other guys who aren't in the top 100 are going to get traits, but that was a big part of being one of the top 100 players, is that EA handpicked and selected traits for these guys specifically. So a few things I'm interested in seeing once this full roster reveals. I thought it was going to be today, but they just put a top 100 list out today. Few things I'm interested in seeing. Number one, of course, Cam Ward's overall. I think he should be, as we already see, he's not one of the top 100 players, but I think he should be either right there as a 90 rated player, as an 89 rated player at the very least. Chris Johnson's speed. I think that's one of the things that when the old NCAAs would come out, that I was always very interested in, was how fast are Miami's fastest players. Would love to see Chris Johnson's speed and acceleration reflect his real life numbers. We may have to do a little tweaking. If it's in the low 90s, I don't know if I can go for that. So I'm looking hopefully to see Chris Johnson's speed and acceleration up over that 95 mark, maybe 96, 97. But it's tough because you can't expect EA. They're doing their research, but you can't expect them to just hand a 97 speed to a guy who had limited snaps last year, even though we know what he's capable of in terms of his speed there. Sam Brown and Jacoby George, very excited to see what their ratings come out to be, because I think with expecting Cam Ward to have a good rating, Restrepo, we already know he's one of the top 100 players in the game at number 93. That receiving core could be very dangerous. Jacoby George, Sam Brown, would hope for them to be, I think Jacoby George and both of them really should be in that mid to high 85 to 87 range, I would think. So those are my predictions for those guys. But that could be a potent receiver core for Miami. The player traits for Bain and Restrepo, we'll see what those are. And then, of course, the freshman class, Zaquan Patterson, Nikar, JoJo Trader. These are guys that are building blocks for Miami. But if you're playing the game, you're going to want to build on those guys as well. And then Elijah Lofton, he's an interesting one to me, right? Will he have ball carrier stats? These games, obviously, a bunch of different playbooks you can choose from, a bunch of different ways you can get guys the football in today's game of college football, and it reflects that in the game. How easy is it going to be to transition Lofton to the backfield? We know that's what he was doing in spring, but again, how much research can we expect EA to have done on that? And are they going to give him the traits as a ball carrier as well, if you want to use him out of the backfield? It's going to be a loaded backfield for Miami, though, with Martinez, with Mark Fletcher should have a solid overall rating as well. Another physical power back. Talk about a couple guys who can really get downhill for you. And look, the wear and tear in the game works both ways. You have obviously the offensive players taking hits, but if they're delivering the blow to the defense and wearing them down throughout the game, should be fun to use that tandem. Throw Chris Johnson in there, throw AJ Allen in there. So Jordan Lyle as well, another freshman that I forget to mention. And look, I don't know if all these guys are in the game. I'm expecting most of them are in. We'll see once the full roster reveals who's in and who's out. But I did notice that the way that EA is wording the roster is launch day roster. So I would expect that there will be updates to the roster made. I know there was a cutoff date for when players would be allowed to opt in by, but I would expect, because I already know there were some guys that did not hit that deadline and are trying to get in the game. I would expect they had that deadline so that they can finalize everything they could. And then once the game's out, I would expect roster updates to come along the way. Will there be rating updates as well? I would guess that there would be, right? We understand that in the other games, such as Madden, week to week based on performance, there's updates. I don't know if there's going to be updates as frequently, because there are 134 teams that they have to go through here. But look, certain guys are going to emerge over the course of the season, freshmen that are going to come into the game rated lowly, who have breakout weeks, breakout seasons. And I would think that EA is going to have to do something about that when guys break out. So some of the stuff I'm talking about, I'm jumping to some conclusions here in terms of whether they're in the game or not. But I would think that there will be, based on how EA is talking, there will be updates to the roster throughout the season. So look, if you guys can't tell, I'm very excited about this. And look, the Cam Ward thing, I think, is the biggest snub for sure, as we see here. Also, I'm going to pull this up real quick. You take a look at the top 100 players in EA College Football 25 by school. Ohio State with 8 in the top 100, Georgia and Alabama 6 each, Michigan, Oregon with 5 each, Iowa, LSU, Notre Dame with 4, and then Miami comes in as one of the 5 programs with 3 players in the top 100. So the Canes, well represented here for sure. Again, you see Florida State with only 1 on this list, Florida with none. So I'm waiting for this full roster to come out, because I really like to dive into things. I like to dive into the traits, the catch ratings, for the quarterbacks. Remember, we have short accuracy, medium accuracy, deep accuracy, throw on the run. So I'm not always just concerned with the overall number here. I like to really see what each of these attributes for these guys are. And there's going to be some guys who aren't highly rated, but have very high attributes in certain areas. And of course, if you're a ball coach, you know how to get those guys on the field and play them to their strengths. Going back to this Cam Ward thing real quick here, as I try to find this tweet, but Clint Brewster from 247 actually said, no, Cam Ward is wild. So look, this isn't just a Miami thing, right? This is in terms of the fans kind of being surprised that Cam Ward did not crack the top 100 here. And Clint Brewster, you see it here, no, Cam Ward is wild, as you see, as I mentioned earlier, the 8 highest rated quarterbacks in EA College Football 25. And you see them here. I think Cam Ward definitely deserves to be on this list, right? So a lot of these guys very deserving here, but I would have expected Cam to be down here in this range, so to speak. But very excited about this game coming out. Hit me up, guys. I want to get some online dynasty going with the Canes community out there, with the CanesInsight community as well. I'll wrap it up with this. As I mentioned at the start of the show, DJ Pickett, we did a little update on him yesterday. D-Money still feels good about him. You guys saw this tweet that came out earlier. Interesting post from Elite cornerback target DJ Pickett here, posting with his cousin Booker Pickett, who's a Hurricane now. And this was from his official visit. Obviously, Oregon looking like some tough competition there, and it's definitely a battle with them going down to the stretch here. But Miami feels like they're in good position, whether they land him now in July or not, to get his signature at the end. But there's still a good chance it happens here in the next week, as Miami tries to continue this big-time recruiting run they're on and try to get themselves there into the top 5 in the country. But I saw a lot of Canes fans kind of worried about this, because they don't usually blatantly put out a picture like this and then commit to the school. We're still a week away here, though. So who's to say he's not going to put something Oregon-related out later today, tomorrow, before he commits? This is the mind games that these top guys know they can play. And listen, you see the action on this post. 200 plus reposts, 1,000 likes, 134 replies on this post. So these guys know what they're doing in terms of the engagement and the interaction with fans and trying to get them riled up, right? So this is all part of it. Let's see what happens. Stay tuned. D-Money will be back here in a couple days and be back to regular scheduled programming here on the Canes Insight Daily Podcast. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Go Canes.
This an insight to the Canes, and you know we ain't playing no games. Joaquin said dominate, so that's what we do. Home of the legends and 7th floor crew. Down in Miami where hurricanes brew. You here for the rumors, we bring you the news. Cause it's all about the you. And nobody do it like CanesInSight. 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 It's CanesInSight.